Hi friends, Lindsay here, the Frugal Crafter. Today we are going to do a speed paint of this random mystery flower in a mason jar. If you know what kind of flower this is, please let me know. I would love to know what it is. And I will have a full tutorial coming up later on my channel tonight. I'm sketching everything in with a gray Inktense block, and I'm adding a little bit of kind of a yellowy ochre color. Now I'm sketching in the leaves using a bright green Inktense block. Look at me go! Oh my goodness, it's kind of crazy to see that speed fast forward action. I feel so accomplished now. Okay, so I'm putting in some little pink flowers that are on this plant. It's actually a plant that we cut down. It wasn't doing well. It was really leggy. The branches had collapsed, and all the new leaves were coming out from the end. We didn't know what to do, so we were trying to propagate it. Hopefully it works, but at least I'll get a painting in case it doesn't make it. Now I'm adding some water, and you can see how the gray and the yellow ochre is kind of coming to life inside of the mason jar there. I'm going to end up obliterating the words on the mason jar, but that's all right. We'll get it back later on in the picture. I want to let you know the full version of this tutorial is about a half an hour long, so just to give you a reasonable expectation about how long it's going to take you to complete this if you choose to. The cool thing about working on watercolor canvas, I forgot to mention, I'm working on watercolor canvas, not watercolor paper, is that the colors stay wetter longer, so you can go back in with those Inktense blocks or watercolor pencils or pastels, whatever you like to use, and get some really defined lines on top of the wet paint, which is kind of fun. I'm just liquefying all the colors. You'll notice there's some red in some of those leaves because I added some red. If you look at those leaves, they've got red on the underside and a little bit of fringe of red around the edge of the leaves. I'm drawing in some veins. You can see that leaf there very briefly, and I thought maybe I could take the white Inktense block and draw some spots on there, but it didn't really work. I did find the toothbrush did work, however the leaves need to be dry first, so we're going to re-evaluate that technique a little while later. I'm using a round acrylic paintbrush because the acrylic brushes are a little stiffer, easier to push the paint around on this this watercolor canvas, just to liquefy those red marks. And I'm going in and adding a little more detail to the leaves just to kind of give them some sharper edges because they did get a little soft on this canvas. I find when working on watercolor canvas versus watercolor paper, you don't have as much detail control, but I would say you have a little more control of the paint because it doesn't want to wander so much. So if you're a like an oil painter or acrylic painter and you want to try watercolors but you don't like how it can kind of go crazy, you may enjoy the watercolor canvas. The only brand I know that makes that is Fredrix, but I do know you can get absorbent ground from Daniel Smith and paint on wood or canvas or whatever you like to turn it into a watercolor surface. So don't feel like you have to go get that. There's definitely many ways to skin that cat. All right. In the jar there, I'm just kind of lifting off some color to give highlights, and I'm trying to decide whether I want to just lift color away from the word ball or if I want to go in with a white Inktense later. I like to lift if I can first, and then if I'm not getting as crisp of a line, then I'll go back in later and color over it. I usually try to use the white of the paper whenever possible for my whites. It just makes the colors seem a little more vivid and fresh. And I'm going in using the brush and water right off the block, kind of like if it was like a watercolor pan, and I'm adding some more color and depth to the leaves, adding some more sharpness around the outside of the flowers, just going in and adding some of the colors that I see. I'm keeping it really loose and fresh looking, so if this kind of horrifies you, this might not be the project for you, but I think it's fun. I always think it's fun to try something at least once, and then if you don't like that style, you never have to do it again. I'm painting in some of the tiny little leaves that haven't opened up yet, just like the little shoots. This was the ends of these stems were really just bursting with these new leaves, but the weight of it was too much that it kept making my plant fall over. So I really hope that the roots take with this. Okay, so here I'm using the toothbrush with some white Inktense block, and look, I got those nice white spots I wanted. I'm so glad that worked out. I would have been able to blot it off if it didn't, and if you get some spots where you don't want them, you can just blot them off while they're still wet. I'm going around those leaves with a nice bright vivid red to really make them pop, and now I want to put in a background, and I'm using that I don't know if it's yellow ochre or raw sienna. I'll mention the numbers on all of these Inktense blocks in the longer video, so if you have them and you want the exact numbers, please refer to that, because I said it as I was going. And I'm just adding a little bit of gray here and there because I noticed my table line wasn't very horizontal, my shadow line was a little wonky, so that way I could fix it. And I'm putting my stems in the jar because I apparently completely forgot to do that on the first go around. Oh, I want to thank you so much for watching this. I hope you found it fun. I just wanted to put the speed painting up because some people had asked me to do it. And I, of course, will have the longer tutorial as well, so check that out if that's what you're looking for. Please share this video, give me a thumbs up and subscribe, and as always, happy crafting!